We have a crisis of gun violence in America, and it is time for our government to act. This is not an issue of politics, it is an issue of life or death. How many more innocent people need to die until it's no longer just thoughts and prayers?
Hey guys, Brad here with another breaking video where I react to breaking news and viral moments, and I want to talk about the tragic shooting in Michigan, and in particular how many people are responding to it on social media. So if you haven't heard, everyone pretty much nationwide is horrified by a targeted attack on a LDS church, also known as the Mormon Church, in Michigan. Here is some reporting from News Nation about what happened, and then we're going to get into how some of the biggest left-wing TikTok stars are talking about it and arguably exploiting it. First, here's that reporting.
New details coming down after a shooting in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, about an hour north of Detroit. That's where at least 4 people have been killed, 8 injured at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Police say the gunman crashed his car through the front of the church during service, started shooting, and then set the house of worship on fire. Right now, officials are searching the charred building for more victims. The suspect, now identified as 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford, killed in a shootout by police. The truck you see on your screen is allegedly his. Within just the last hour, officials updating us on the investigation.
I can confirm at this time that the FBI is now leading the investigation and is investigating this as an act of targeted violence.
Okay, guys, well, first and foremost, my heart just goes out to everybody impacted, to the broader LDS church and community. Really, I mean, I would never want this to happen to any group of people or any community, religious group or not, but Mormon or LDS people, rather, you couldn't think of nicer people. You couldn't find a group of people that is statistically more likely to be kind and welcoming to their neighbors, not to endorse any of their beliefs or whatnot, but you don't have to share their faith to see that they are, generally speaking, upstanding citizens. And my heart just breaks for them and for everybody involved. We'll wait to learn more about the shooter and what went down, but predictably, internet activists and left-wing influencers are using the tragedy to push an agenda, an anti-gun agenda, a gun control agenda, whatever you want to call it. That's very much what they're doing. Let's take a look at Dean Withers, the TikTok star, at the video that he put out today. Let's watch.
Okay, breaking news. In the last 14 hours, there's been 3 mass shootings in America. The most recent shooting was at a Mormon church around an hour north of Detroit in Michigan, where a man opened fire inside of the church after setting the church on fire, injuring 8 and killing 1. The second mass shooting was at a bar in North Carolina, where a man opened fire, killed 3 people, and injured 8 more. The third mass shooting was at the largest casino in Texas, where once again a man opened fire, killed 2 people, and injured 5 others. So far in 2025, there's been 320 mass shootings in America. Keep in mind, we are only 271 days into the year, which means it is not another day, another mass shooting, as we've averaged well over that. We have a crisis of gun violence in America, and it is time for our government to act. This is not an issue of politics, it is an issue of life or death. How many more innocent people need to die until it's no longer just thoughts and prayers, but real, meaningful action and change?
So Dean wrote this in his caption as well, something to the effect of, it's not politics, it's a matter of life and death, which I find to be an interesting, revealing, and I think ignorant statement, because it is politics and it is a matter of life and death. Those two things are not actually at odds. They're not mutually exclusive. They're often overlapping. I mean, politics is the debate and discussion over our government and its role in society, and the government, by definition, is often dealing with matters of life and death. And then a couple things about this video, which already has millions of views. I understand wanting to stop future tragedies, but it does feel distasteful to me, though I understand both sides do it at this point, to immediately hop on tragedies before we even really know much about them to push a particular agenda. Though the other aspect, I understand that's just kind of part of what happens now. So I'm not even particularly picking on Dean for doing that here. But the other aspect of this is there's an alarmism baked in here because the numbers that are being used come from the gun violence archive. At least I suspect. And they're using a definition of mass shooting that simply refers to multiple people being shot, not killed, not necessarily in an act of random or targeted violence. So it just doesn't really map onto, for example, a gang-related drive-by shooting where multiple people are wounded but no one is killed is counted as a mass shooting in this definition. And while that may technically be a mass shooting in the sense that multiple people were shot, I think it's misleading to use a word or term that conjures up images like Columbine or Parkland or like Dylan Roof or these other kinds of targeted mass slaughters and suggesting that that is happening more than once every single day, which it's not. And I don't want people to become more alarmed. Obviously, we have a serious issue here, but when you're using statistics that inflate people's sense of fear, I think that has a negative aspect on the discourse. But what was so notable to me about this video and why I wanted to talk about it was what Dean says when he talks about we need our government to act, to take action. He doesn't actually mention anything specific. What policies? And I reached out to Dean because I'd love to have a conversation with him about this. But he makes it sound as if there is a magic button politicians could push that would just stop this, right? Would make it go away, but they're all just blinded by NRA money or something. That's just not the case. Like, we have a sickness of the soul in this country that's behind these mass killings, and absent banning guns and going door to door and confiscating them, something which would require a constitutional amendment and is simply never going to happen, the idea that any of the policy tweaks around the margins that Democrats suggest would stop this kind of thing, I think is just totally unfounded. I think it's not true at all. And so I would really love for him to list the specific policies, because I've looked at this issue in depth. I've reported on it over the years. Universal background checks is going to stop somebody who wants to slaughter people at an LDS church? No, it's not. For all we know, this guy bought his gun legally and passed a background check. If not, it wouldn't be difficult to circumvent it, right? You're already required to do a background check at every federally licensed gun dealer. It's only just interpersonal transfers that don't require one. And you could always have somebody purchase one for you. Many of these shooters would have passed a background check because they have no red flags previously. It's not a real solution. Even something like banning assault weapons would just end up meaning that you ban some guns that look scary. We had an assault weapons ban in this country. It didn't do anything statistically. Even many left of center analysts later admitted that. So absent things that are not on the table, there really is no actual solution here. But the disingenuous narrative being fed to people is that, oh, our government could just push these buttons and make this stop, but they won't because they don't care. And it's all just black and white, simple of life versus death. I find that to be a real flattening of a complicated issue that also ignores like the root of the issue. The root of the issue is that you have sick people waking up and going out and trying to kill as many people as they can. And a gun is a tool that they use that may augment their ability to achieve that evil end in some ways, but doesn't actually, even if all guns were gone tomorrow, they could take a U-Haul and plow through a crowd and kill dozens of people. I mean, it doesn't address the fundamental evil and why it's happening and why it's happening more and more and more, even though it's not as if America didn't have guns 30 years ago, right? So I think the way that these influencers discuss these issues as if they're just black and white, as if there's all these simple solutions that just dumb, I don't know, MAGA Republicans won't pass, it just strikes me as simplistic and naive to the point of dishonesty. And I think you do your audience of millions a real disservice when you mislead them into thinking there are easy solutions to problems that are actually a lot more complicated. But what do you guys think? Do you see this kind of rhetoric from Dean and other people? a lot? And do you agree with me that it's pretty empty? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Hit the like button, yada, yada, yada. And for more of my longer form content, be sure to subscribe to the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, my daily show where I cover internet insanity and social media madness, all from an independent perspective. The link to the show is in the description. And with that, guys, we'll be back with more content real soon.